Hi guys, and welcome back to another tutorial. Now, one of the things that I really struggled with when I started my photography journey was white balance. I was never sure what was the correct white balance for my photo. I would spend hours changing the temperature and tint slider, and I just never was happy with the results. So in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you a few tips and tricks on how you can get better white balance from your photos, as well as how you can remove ugly color casts from your images. And I'm going to start right now. Now, trying to guess the white balance of your photo is incredibly challenging, especially if you've shot in a very complicated lighting environment. A lot of urban landscape photos, you've got lots of different color temperatures to take into consideration. Take this photo here. It's a really old photo that I took last year in Elizabeth Line in London. It's one of my favorite places to photograph, and I just love it for its architecture. The problem is there's lots of different white balance to take into consideration. You've got the temperature outside, you've got the temperature inside, you've got different lights that offer different temperatures, you've got people, that there's so much different colors. We need to create a bit more of a neutral color palette. Now, you could just use the white balance selector tool, but in most cases it doesn't always work. So there's a few other tricks that we can do to get absolute perfect white balance for your photo. Okay, so let's go ahead and open up the basics panel. And what you want to do is have a look at your white balance first, and you want to find something with a neutral tone to it, something that has no color. Now, luckily, all of the ceiling here is gray. So that makes it really easy for me, but it might not be as easy for you. So what you'll need to do is simply follow a very quick trick. So what you need to do is open up your white balance selector tool, that's just to the left-hand side of your sliders, and hover over basically any swatch. And you should come up with this targeted picker. And right at the bottom, you've got three values. You've got an R, a G, and a B value, and it's a percentage of the amount of primary color found within that specific swatch, as all colors are made up of red, green, and blue. And all this does is it measures the percentage value of those three primary colors. So in this swatch here, you can see is 80, 76, and 68. Now, this isn't perfect, because what you want to do is find something that's within a 5 to 10% value of each other. So here we've got 80, 76, and 68. They're a little bit too far away from each other. So what you want to do is hover around until those numbers are a lot closer. So for example, let's go down, 82, 79, and 71. They're pretty close. Then all you need to do is go ahead and click. Now, because they're really close to each other, you're more likely to get a better white balance from that. So all you need to do is look around your image. It doesn't have to be necessarily gray. It could be quite bright, it could be quite dark. Basically something that has very similar numbers when it comes to their red, green, and blue. That will show a neutral tone. Simply go ahead and click, and hopefully you will end up with a better white balance. But there's still a few more issues that we've got with this photo. Look at the bottom. Those lights are still very yellow. So let's do a little bit more adjustments. Okay, so let's firstly fix the exposure, as I'm finding is a little bit dark. We can increase the contrast there. Now, I might bring down those brightness of those highlights, as they're very, very strong, and bring up those shadows a little bit more. Now, I might bring up the whites and also bring down the blacks there. Might bring up the whites a little bit further. What you want to do is look at your histogram and kind of expand that as much as possible, adding in the right amount of dynamic range from your image. Then we've got texture, clarity, and dehaze. I like adding in a little bit of texture, a little bit of clarity, and then I might add in around 10% dehaze there. And I'm going to leave vibrance and saturation alone, because what you want to do is look at your image, work out what colors you want to remove, so color casts from your image. In my specific example, there's a lot of warmer tones that I want to remove, kind of replace them with cooler tones, aka that's what was wrong with the white balance to begin with, and then we can actually use the color mixer tool instead. So leave vibrance and saturation alone. Let's go ahead and close down the basics panel and open up the color mixer tool. Now, skip out hue, because we don't want to change the colors, we want to remove colors. And for that, we want to go to saturation. Now, you want to look at your photo and work out what colors you want to remove, and then remove those. And I would say split them into kind of two categories: warm colors and cool colors. In this specific example, I'm finding there's a lot of warm colors I don't want. So for that, go to the reds, orange, yellows, and greens, and simply remove half of the colors. So -50 for reds, -50 for oranges, -50 for yellows, and then -25 for greens. And I would say that is a lot closer to more of a neutral tone. We've still got a nice amount of color in the image as we haven't removed them completely. We've just removed that color cast, which works really nicely. Now you can go a step further if you want to. Instead of going in saturation, go to luminance, and then you want to boost the colors you want to keep. So for example, if I've removed a lot of the warmer tones, I want to increase a lot of the cooler tones. So aquas to magentas, what I'm gonna do is aqua, I'm gonna go for 25, and then 50 for blue, 50 for purple, and lastly 50 for magenta. And that has worked out really nice. In fact, because of the Elizabeth line has got purple advertising, because it's the purple line inside London, it's actually really brought out that magenta and purple in the background there, and it works really nice. Now there's a few more things we can do. I'm actually gonna go into my masks next. So I'm gonna exit out of the color mixer tool. I'm gonna quickly go over to my masks. I'm still finding the bottom half a little bit bright. So what I'm gonna do is simply go to my linear gradient. I'm gonna go ahead and create a gradient at the bottom. And then I'm gonna do two things. I'm gonna reduce my exposure. So I'm gonna drop that down probably by around 1 stop. But because the gradient is quite large, might make it a bit larger, it's gonna look nice and soft and subtle. And the last thing I'm gonna do is go to my saturation, which is the most important one, and also drop that down. So I'm gonna drop that down by -30. Another thing you can do is actually go to the temperature and tint slider inside the masking panel and also affect that. But because we've removed a lot of the colors in our HSL adjustments or color mixer, it's not necessarily majorly impacting the photo. And as you can see, immediately this has looked a lot better. So I would use those 3 tricks to remove any ugly color casts from your image, as well as getting the right white balance. And the actual tool, the white balance selector tool, using those percentage sliders works almost every single time. But if you're still struggling, then use the color mixer tool. And then if you've got any specific color cast, then I recommend using masking. And hopefully this video has helped you out and to get better white balance from your photos. Here is the before, and here is the after. And to show you it doesn't just work with this image, I'll show you 2 more images on the Elizabeth line. If I move over to photo 2, now this image, there's a lot of different white balance. You've got the 2 tunnels to the left and right, they're really blue, but you've got the very strong colors in the middle. And if I show you the before and after, we've ended up with a lot more of a neutral tone. And again, last image here, again, shot on the Elizabeth line, lots of different colors. So if I show you the before and after, we've ended up with a lot more neutral tone from the photo, and that's thanks to those 3 tips I've just discussed. And hopefully that's removed any awful white balance from your photos in Lightroom. Thank you to all my YouTube members that are currently supporting the channel. If you guys want to support the channel and get some awesome perks, including free Lightroom presets like the ones that you can see on screen, make sure to go ahead to the link in the description. I've been James for Photo Fever, and I'll catch you guys next week.